Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are cracking open the master vault on a book that doesn't just want to change how you see yourself, it wants to completely overturn the global cultural blueprint of success, power, and influence. Think about it. We live in a society that is completely obsessed with what the author calls the extrovert ideal. From the classroom to the corporate boardroom, we are told that to be a leader, to be successful, and to be respected, you must be loud, highly outgoing, dominant in groups, and always ready to speak first. We praise the fast talker, the aggressive networker, and the person who effortlessly commands a crowded lounge with loud, charismatic storytelling. But what happens if your true superpower doesn't live in the noise? What happens if your greatest ideas, your deepest strategic breakthroughs, and your most potent leadership capacities emerge when you are completely alone in a quiet room, thinking deeply without distraction? We are diving deep into a massive, immersive story breakdown of quiet, the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking, by Cain. This video is a profound psychological and cultural blueprint designed to validate your hidden strengths, shatter the myth of the extrovert ideal, and teach you how to build a reality of massive success by leveraging the quiet, focused power of your introverted nature. Statistically, up to half of the population is introverted. Yet many spend their entire lives wearing a heavy social mask, pretending to be extroverted just to survive in a corporate world that was built by and for extroverts. This chronic masking creates an immense layer of psychological exhaustion, self-doubt, and creative burnout. Get incredibly comfortable. Grab a fresh journal, eliminate all distractions, and let us discover how to step into a quiet, unshakable confidence that commands absolute respect without shouting. Part 1. The Rise of the Omnipresent Extrovert Ideal. Let us start our story by looking at a fascinating historical mystery. How did our global culture become so deeply obsessed with loud, outgoing personalities? Cain takes us on a journey back to the turn of the 20th century, tracing a massive shift in human sociology. Before this era, Western culture lived in what historians call a culture of character. In this world, a person's worth was judged by their internal moral fiber, their citizenship, their discipline, and their actions behind closed doors. You didn't have to be a smooth talker. You had to be an honorable, reliable, and deeply competent human being. But as the Industrial Revolution accelerated, millions of people abandoned their quiet rural communities and flooded into massive, crowded cities to work in large corporations. Suddenly, instead of working alongside neighbors who knew your character from childhood, you found yourself competing against hundreds of total strangers in a high-stakes corporate environment. This hyper-competitive landscape triggered the birth of the culture of personality. The focus shifted entirely from who you were on the inside to how you performed on the outside. Suddenly, salesmanship, public relations, and immediate charm became the ultimate keys to economic survival. The self-help books of the era stopped teaching modesty and integrity and started teaching public speaking, immediate popularity, and aggressive self-promotion. The extrovert ideal was born, cementing a cultural belief that the ideal human being is highly gregarious, alpha-dominant, and completely comfortable in the spotlight, while casting a dark shadow of shame over those who prefer quiet contemplation. Part 2. The biological blueprint of the sensitive amygdala. Now that we see how culture created this bias, let us look at the deep biological science that dictates where you sit on the introversion-extroversion spectrum. Susan Cain introduces us to the groundbreaking research of Harvard psychologist Jerome Kagan, who conducted a legendary long-term study on infants. Kagan placed hundreds of 4-month-old babies in a laboratory setting and exposed them to a series of novel sensory experiences, such as popping balloons, flashing colorful lights, and playing loud voices. He noticed a clear split in how the babies reacted. A small percentage of the infants remained completely calm, barely moving their arms or legs. The larger percentage of infants went wild with excitement, pumping their arms, kicking their legs, and crying out in distress. Kagan tracked these exact same children all the way into adulthood, and the results completely turned psychological theory on its head. The babies who reacted frantically to the loud noises did not grow up to be wild extroverts. They became the quiet, deeply analytical introverts. The babies who stayed calm became the high-energy, social extroverts. Why did this happen? It turns out that introverts possess a highly sensitive, high-reactive amygdala. Your amygdala serves as your brain's biological security thermostat. When an introvert enters a loud networking event or a chaotic, open-plan office, their highly sensitive nervous system absorbs every single sensory detail. The bright lights, the multiple voices, the body language cues, spiking their internal stress levels and draining their energy. Extroverts possess a low reactive amygdala, meaning they require massive amounts of external stimulation just to feel fully awake. Understanding this biological blueprint changes everything. It proves that introversion is not a social defect, a lack of confidence, or a psychological choice. It is a beautifully engineered neurological architecture that dictates how your body processes the energy of the world. Part 3. The hidden trap of corporate groupthink. Once we understand the biology of focus, we can see how the modern workplace is actively killing corporate innovation by catering exclusively to the extrovert ideal. Cain introduces a profound critique of a concept known as the new groupthink. Look at the architecture of the modern corporate office. Over the last few decades, companies have systematically destroyed private offices and cubicles, replacing them with massive, noisy, open-plan workspaces. They force employees into non-stop brainstorming sessions, group workshops, and collaborative committees, believing that the best ideas always emerge when a bunch of people sit in a room and shout thoughts at a whiteboard together. But behavioral science reveals a devastating reality about group brainstorming sessions. Studies consistently show that individuals perform significantly worse when brainstorming in a group compared to when they solve problems completely alone in a quiet space. Why? Because when a group gathers, the conversation is naturally hijacked by the loudest, most aggressive extroverts in the room, regardless of whether their ideas make any actual logical sense. The quiet introverts, who often possess the deepest technical knowledge, choose to stay silent to avoid conflict, or their voices are drowned out entirely by the social noise. True creative genius requires absolute solo focus, deep reading, and long stretches of uninterrupted contemplation. By forcing everyone into the chaos of the open-plan office, corporations create a culture of superficial groupthink, sacrificing genuine scientific and strategic breakthroughs for the illusion of collaborative excitement. Part 4. The Power of Quiet Leadership and Executive Presence. If the loud talkers dominate group discussions, how can an introvert ever hope to lead a major organization or command executive presence? Cain presents a refreshing, data-driven perspective on leadership by analyzing the legendary research of business professor Adam Grant. Grant conducted comprehensive studies across various industries to determine which personality types generate the highest profits and team morale. He discovered that while extroverts are highly effective at leading passive employees who need a massive boost of motivation, introverted leaders consistently outperform extroverted leaders when managing proactive, highly talented employees. An extroverted leader naturally desires to stamp their personal brand on everything. When an innovative employee brings them a fresh concept, the extroverted manager may view it as a threat to their authority or instinctively alter the idea to match their own vision. An introverted leader possesses the secure composure to step back and play the role of the ultimate facilitator. They do not need to be the center of attention. They sit back, listen intently, with absolute presence, and allow their talented team members to run with their creative passions. They absorb information deeply, analyze the risks clinically, and make decisions based on data rather than social hype. You do not need to change your voice to lead people. True executive presence doesn't mean being the loudest voice in the boardroom. It means possessing the deep competence, calm stability, and reflective wisdom that forces everyone else to stop talking and listen whenever you choose to speak. Part 5. The Mastery of the Free Trait Theory Framework. Let us look at a profound challenge that every introvert faces eventually. You can appreciate your quiet nature fully, but your career or your family life will inevitably demand that you step onto a high-stakes stage. You will have to deliver a major public speech, pitch an investor, or host a massive networking dinner where you must act like a high-energy extrovert to win. How do you handle these moments without completely destroying your nervous system? Susan Cain introduces an empowering psychological framework created by Professor Brian Little, known as the Free Trait Theory. This theory states that while we possess a fixed biological personality core, we have the beautiful capability to act completely out of character when we are working on what Little calls a core project. If you care deeply about a business mission, a social cause, or providing for your children, you can consciously tap into your internal acting reservoir and deliver a high-energy, charismatic, extroverted performance. But there is a critical rule you must follow to survive this performance. You must build what Cain calls a restorative niche into your schedule. A restorative niche is a physical space or a pocket of time where you can drop the social mask and completely recharge your batteries in absolute solitude. If you have to deliver a massive 2-hour presentation to a corporate client, do not schedule a big networking lunch immediately afterward. Instead, block out an hour on your calendar to sit alone in a quiet coffee shop, walk through a park, or sit in an empty conference room with your eyes closed. By honoring your biology and giving your high reactive amygdala time to reset after a performance, you can deploy extroverted behaviors strategically as a powerful tool without burning out your soul. Part 6. Navigating the delicate introvert-extrovert alliance. Why do so many business partnerships, marriages, and friendships experience severe hidden friction because of personality differences? It is because we naturally assume that everyone else views the world through our exact behavioral lens. Consider a classic marriage between a deep introvert and a high-energy extrovert. When Friday night arrives after a brutal week of work, the extrovert wants to invite 10 friends over for a loud dinner party, because gathering with people is how their low-reactive nervous system recharges. The introvert wants nothing more than to curl up on the couch with a book and a quiet movie, because solitude is how their high-reactive nervous system heals. If they do not understand the hidden biology of their partner, conflict will flare up instantly. The extrovert will interpret the introvert's desire for solitude as cold rejection, depression, or a lack of love. The introvert will look at the extrovert's non-stop demand for social noise as superficiality, selfishness, and a complete lack of emotional depth. To transform this friction into an elite alliance, you must master the art of explicit personality communication. Stop judging your partner's behavior through your own script. Recognize that their social needs are a literal biological requirement. Create a structured balance where both worlds are respected. The introvert can agree to attend the corporate event for 2 hours, and the extrovert can agree to leave early without complaint, so the introvert can protect their energy. When you combine the bold, action-oriented drive of the extrovert with the deep, risk-aware wisdom of the introvert, you build an unstoppable, balanced partnership, capable of navigating any real-world challenge. Part 7. Nurturing the introverted mind in a loud world. Let us look at the foundation of our story by addressing how we raise, educate, and mentor the next generation of quiet leaders. Susan Cain shines a harsh light on the modern school system, which has been completely re-engineered to mirror the extroverted corporate office. From preschool to university, students are forced into collaborative desks, clusters, group grading systems, and high-intensity class participation metrics. If a child sits quietly at their desk, reads a book during recess, or hesitates to raise their hand instantly when a question is asked, teachers often flag them as antisocial, slow, or suffering from a lack of self-esteem. This cultural pressure inflicts a deep psychological wound on quiet children, forcing them to believe that their natural instinct to think before they speak is a massive flaw. Parents and educators must stop trying to cure introverted children as if their quietness is a disease. We must recognize that the quiet child who prefers to focus intensely on drawing, writing, or coding alone in their bedroom is practicing a form of deliberate learning that builds world-class mastery. We must give them private spaces to create, validate their quiet insights, and teach them how to speak with authenticity rather than forcing them to adopt a superficial, loud persona. When we give a quiet mind the space to grow without shame, we pave the way for the future thinkers, scientists, authors, and strategic visionaries who will move the world forward. Part 8. the ultimate blueprint for quiet, personal sovereignty. As our profound journey through the landscape of the quiet mind reaches its grand conclusion, remember this definitive truth: stillness is not a weakness. It is a monument of immense personal power. You do not need to change your core identity, force yourself to become a loud entertainer, or apologize for your love of solitude to capture massive success in this world. Stop letting the ancient, loud biases of the extrovert ideal make you question your immense worth. Stop burning your energy away in endless social obligations that do not serve your core projects. And stop hiding your deep insights in fear of being overshadowed by the noise. Step into your authentic, quiet sovereignty today. Honor your high reactive biology with pride. Reject the superficial groupthink of chaotic spaces, and seek out the solo environments where your deep creativity can flourish. Lead people through the quiet strength of your competence. Use the free trait theory to shine on stage when your mission demands it, and protect your energy fiercely using your restorative niches. When you possess the unshakable courage to lift your chin, accept your introverted nature, and speak from a place of deep, silent contemplation, you unlock the ultimate golden key to human influence. The illusions of social insecurity will dissolve completely before your presence. You will command premium authority in your career. Channel your focused energy into brilliant creative projects. Build partnerships built on absolute depth and trust, and discover that your quiet voice has become a magnificent, unshakable instrument of lasting global impact. What is the #1 practical insight from this quiet masterclass? Whether it is protecting your schedule with a restorative niche or stepping up as an introverted leader who listens deeply, that you are going to commit to practicing in your career or life today. Let me know your breakthroughs in the comments down below. If this deep dive summary validated your inner world and handed you a definitive architectural blueprint for unshakable quiet confidence, show some massive love by clicking that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another profound communication, confidence, or leadership book breakdown. And share this video with a fellow introvert who needs to hear this message today. Trust your silence, honor your focus, own your quiet power, and I will see you in the next video.